Morning Talk on SAFM.
22 minutes to 11, and let's talk psychological matters now. And we welcome clinical psychologist and director of the Psych Matters Family Therapy Center in Bedford View, and that's Joanna Tlevolo. Very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Destructive or unhealthy ways of coping with stress. What is stress?
I think it's a very good point to start off with. I think we can all relate to the concept and the notion of stress. We experience it every single day. But it really is basically our body's response to handling internal or external forces that are weighing us down or demanding or taxing on us. So if we look at external factors, I mean, you spoke about the FTSE index and all sorts. From a financial perspective, people are struggling to either meet the demands financially of their family, their monthly salaries, having to meet a certain budget. We look at external situations like your work, complications, difficulties with social relationships within your marriage. But then we also look at internal factors. What kind of expectations do you have on yourself? Are you a perfectionist? How do you handle conflict? How do you deal with emotions? How do you deal with uncertainty? And all these factors, the internal as well as the external, have a way to become demanding on the psyche, on the mind and on the body. And then our bodies will respond in a way that manifests in a physiological response, like headaches, body aches, not being able to sleep, feeling a bit anxious, the sense of feeling out of control. So that is really what stress really is. And not being able to cope with stress is really what we're going to be talking about today.
Not being able to, and you talk about the destructive or unhealthy ways. But how do you cope with stress healthily?
Again, we talk about maladaptive and adaptive ways of coping with stress. And coping really is cognitive, so it's your thoughts and your actions that we take, our efforts that we take to give us a sense of control. So it's things that we do to give us a sense that we're on top of things and that we're able to cope. And it can affect our interpersonal relationships. It can affect our ability to function in the world. So when we have the sense that we're functioning in all areas of our lives, then we really know that we're coping. But when we talk about, and I really want to use this opportunity to talk about ineffective ways of coping, even within relationships, because the way we relate with ourselves and the way that we relate with people is also the way that we relate with things and situations that come into our space. So that is something that I'd like for us to touch on as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me also invite our caller, 0891104207. You can also drop us an SMS 34701 or drop us an email, morning@safm.co.za. And we're talking psychological matters, and we're talking today about destructive or unhealthy ways of coping with stress. You spoke about control and coping. Is that one of the things that human beings want, to be in control of their situations?
Absolutely. I think it's a purposeful or a sense of a psychological milestone that we reach. Whether you're a child, whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, we all want the sense that we are able to deal with whatever is coming our way, and it gives us a sense of harmony or a sense of relief in our own minds. But when we talk about stress, there's also positive stress or eustress. You know, stress gives us this feeling that motivates us. It gives us energy. It gives us a sense of I want to have a challenging situation to make me feel like I can take a risk and meet a new challenge. So stress is not necessarily negative, but it's a perpetual feeling of being out of control, that I cannot manage what is coming my way. And again, it's about really recognizing what are those internal thoughts and emotions that perpetuate the feeling of coping destructively or perceiving the situation as stressful. Because again, it's also personality style. You know, if we can look at a situation or a cup half empty or a cup half full, that will also dictate how we're going to approach this particular stressful situation. So your outlook on life, the way you make meaning of a situation, is also a way of handling potentially destructive or stressful trigger.
Which also means that you can't have one solution for all because we are different personalities.
Absolutely. You know, we talk about personality types. You know, you get the avoidant types of people that generally steer away or run away from a situation that they need to address. Or you get people that are very dependent. For example, they feel that they need something or someone outside of themselves to help them manage this particular situation. That's very different to asking for help and to recognize when we need to ask for aid and for support, because that's a positive way of recognizing to reaching out to a support system, to access support when you feel like you cannot manage with the situation. You know, we only made it up with 2 arms and 1 head. And having a good support structure is a positive way. However, being dependent on somebody else gives away that sense of control. You kind of abdicate your sense of control and your responsibility. So then you blame somebody else when something doesn't go wrong, or you feel incapable or inadequate and able to cope with this particular situation because you've always relied on many other people to help you deal with a particular difficult situation. So it gets quite complicated, yes.
So how should I be dealing with stress healthily?
Okay. So when we talk about internal factors, we firstly need to step inside of ourselves and ask ourselves, how do we perceive ourselves in our world? Do we see ourselves as having a low self-worth? Do we see ourselves as able to have a meaningful contribution to society? When we value ourselves enough, and we know that we matter enough, that is already giving us a sense of fullness inside. So then we're already feeling like we have the ability to, and a sense of adequacy to be able to reach out and face whatever's coming our way. So I think self-esteem is very, very important in terms of believing in yourself and having a sense of worth and valuing yourself enough. Being able to recognize too, self-esteem very much addresses all of those issues. When you're able to really set goals for yourself that are achievable and that you can actually quantify them. You know, often perfectionists and people that have got very high expectations set themselves up for failure. And then it becomes a perpetual cycle of, I've got to maintain the status quo, which eventually will burn you out. And then you find yourself physically not being able to cope with the same situation which you were able to 3 months down the prior. Or so if you haven't burnt out, you then set yourself up with a sense of I'm not able to achieve this, and then the negative self-talk starts occurring. I'm not able to do this. I can't do this. I'm not good for nothing, and then it's a negative perpetual cycle internally.
Mm-hmm. So, which means you have to be practical.
Absolutely. And realistic. I think that's what you may be referring to be able to be realistic. You know, having hopes and dreams is also a very good attribute. It's being optimistic about your future and having ideals to work towards. And that's where positive stress comes in, where you're saying, right, I've got certain goals that I can work towards. It's going to be challenging, but I'm realistic about what it is I'm putting out there. But when you've got nothing to work towards, that can also give you a sense of a lack of achievement, a lack of sense of purpose, not having meaning in your life, and that can also create stress because you're thinking, what's the meaning of my life? So that can have a counteractive, and it's really about finding the right balance, really. So having enough stress to keep you motivated and going and giving you energy, but not to the point that you're burning yourself out.
Mm-hmm. And self-esteem, some people might be within the range of our voices saying that, but that's also subjective because I might be confident, but other people view me otherwise.
As arrogant, perhaps. And absolutely. And again, it's about being able to recognize that self-esteem really follows 2 paths. Is that I'm okay and I'm loved no matter what I have or haven't achieved. And often when I talk to parents or to adults that come to me for difficulties, I say to them, if you can get that right, if you can leave a sense of the person that you're relating to or that's in your space or a significant other, and you let them understand that maybe their behavior isn't appropriate, but I love you no matter what. That everyone deserves to be loved no matter what they have or haven't done in their lives. And then on the other aspect, it's a sense of we all want to feel capable and competent in something that we do. And those 2 elements gives us a sense of esteem. And in those 2 elements are then giving us the ability to reach out to the world, because if I'm able to love, and if I've got the capacity for love and to feel lovable and love others, I have the ability then to trust enough that other people are there when I need them, and I'm able to access support, and I'm able to communicate my difficulties, and I'm able to reach out and expand rather than becoming into yourself and internalizing difficulties, which often then translates then to internalizing your stresses. So then your body will then manifest with all sorts of difficulties: irritability, anxiety, depression, headaches, psychosomatic complaints, backaches, and so forth.
0891104207, that's the telephone number to dial, and we talk in psychological matters. Joanna Tlevolo is our guest. She's a clinical psychologist and also the director of the Psych Matters Family Therapy Center in Bedfordview. Give us a call, 0891104207. Today we're talking about destructive or unhealthy ways of coping with stress. How do some people cope with the stress that they have in an unhealthy way?
Okay, so maladaptive ways of coping. So if we look at the opposite of constructive, which is being proactive, so preparing yourself for a potentially challenging situation, or being reactive, sometimes things do come our way that are really out of our control. And that's when you really rely on your internal resources and your ability to see that whatever we need is really around us. We just need to ask, and we need to find them, whether it's through a friend, whether it's through financial help, whether it's through religion or a spiritual source. That really, whatever we need is really available to us. But maladaptive ways of coping is looking at the perception that I don't have or I can't. That's the first thing. The second thing is looking at, because I can't ask for help, I will find ways to become self-reliant on myself. So that can also be negative. Some people self-medicate, for example. So they take things like, their own sleeping tablets. They'll take alcohol, or they'll use a form of drug, illicit drugs, as a way to numb or their problem, or to put them in an altered state of mind, which is again denying the problem. And to some degree, it might alleviate the problem in the short term, but in the long term, the problem just doesn't go away. So it's people that really don't have the ability, or lack the skill, or refuse to take ownership. That's the other aspect. To recognize that they have somehow co-created this experience, and to take accountability for something that they've created here, or not being able to face the situation. So then they use self-medication as a means, or they deny the problem. So one of the psychological defense mechanisms or strategies that we use is denying that it actually exists. That we almost use either a positive, extremely positive mindset that everything is just fine, when in fact your whole life is crumbling. We look at avoidance strategies, not either physically escaping the problem or avoiding the situation. So procrastination, for example, is one, on a very subtle form. Other dysfunctional ways of coping is not being able to ask for help, not being able to make meaning of your situation, not being able to sit down and reflect on what has been happening here, and either problem solve or finding the cause of what is causing the situation to manifest itself. We spoke about internal factors. External factors is not taking action. So it's all those sorts of things that potentially could be quite dangerous. So that could lead again to significant impairment in all areas of your life: your personal relationships, your internal state, your ability to function in the world, at work, at home, with your colleagues, and so forth.
0891104207, telephone number to dial in the studio. 34701 is the SMS line, and those SMSs will cost you R2, or you can drop us an email, morning@safm.co.za.
Morning Talk on SAFM.
SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader. Psychological matters is what we're talking about. Joanna Tlevolo is our guest. She's a clinical psychologist and director of the Psych Matters Family Therapy Center in Bedfordview. When we talk about psychological matters, what I've noticed in most instances is that people still are afraid of coming out and discussing some of the matters. I mean, especially when you talk about unhealthy or destructive ways of coping with stress. Is that also evident in your practices?
Absolutely, absolutely. We talk about trying to destigmatize mental health, but mental health is, if you have a healthy mindset, you can really cope with anything that really comes your way. And if we look again at dysfunctional coping styles, they often learn behaviors. So it comes from very on in life, whether it is your gender, if you're a male, there's, cowboys don't cry. Emotions are seen as a sense of weakness. We spoke about that in the break. Whether you from a specific culture, certain cultures are seen as, the man is the head of the household. We don't discuss emotions. Emotions are only for weak women, and so forth. So then that gets perpetuated. Again, we also see what happens in our home. How do mom and dad deal with difficult things? Do they become aggressive and aren't able to contain themselves? Are they very anxious and hyper aroused and so forth? Or are the people that are able to sit down and work through disagreements and able to find a compromise in finding a solution? So teaching your children from a very young age in how to deal with difficult circumstances, not solving the problems for them, making them dependent on you, for example, and not completely leaving them to their own devices where they feel they have got to become completely self-reliant and not able to then access help because they feel they can't trust it, or they feel that it's a sign of weakness to reach out and ask for the help when they're struggling. So yes, it does start from a very young age, and unfortunately society does still stigmatize when people do seek assistance. But I always say to the first, the person that comes to therapy for the very first time, it really is an act of courage to really take the step, because you're starting to take ownership and taking back control.
Mm-hmm. Now, guidance, would that be the correct word to use when you helping your children to cope with situations? I
always tell parents that our children do not belong to us, and it often stirs up quite a strong emotion in them. Yes, we had to teach our children about life and prepare them about life, and to help them one day to contribute as citizens, as legal citizens in society. But at the same time, we're here really to hold their hands and to help them to reach their full potential. So yes, that is very important. So it really starts from a very young age.
Mm. Now, we spoke earlier when we got into the topic that it also affects your social relationships and all of that. Here am I. I'm not under stress. I have a partner or a friend who is under stress, and I empathize with them, but what do I need to do to help them through that period?
Okay, so you're talking about support. How are you able to reach out and provide the support? So firstly, it's being able to recognize to your friend and acknowledge to your friend that, I really see that you're going through a really difficult time. For the last 2 weeks, so be specific, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, you're not answering your phone. I'm finding you at home most of the time. You're withdrawn from our connection. You're not meeting up with me anymore. You're quite teary. I get the feeling that you're quite irritable. And I really am here for you. So without, being judgmental and telling them to pull themselves toward themselves, or saying to them it's not really a big deal, really just to provide that sense of you're here, you're listening, and you'd like to have a helping hand and to mean it. So once you put yourself out there, is to really step in and provide that support in the way that you can. And then should you're not able to help, to maybe say that you're willing to look out and help, find a help with that person.
That is in a relationship. We'll come back after this call from Raj in Johannesburg. Good morning to you and welcome, Raj.
Good morning. Good morning to you and to the psychologist. How are you guys doing?
All right, thank you.
Okay, I've got just one question. It's like a general question regarding mental illness and reflexology. Doctor, would ongoing or regular reflexology aid in relieving stress or calming the mind and stuff like that?
Okay, it's a very good question. I think it's really important for the listeners out there. I think if we attribute a certain belief to a particular therapeutic modality, whether it is going to church, whether it is reflexology, whether it is going for medication, whether it's talk therapy, I think automatically when our minds ascribe a certain belief that this modality is going to work for us, already that's a positive. The fact that you're also reaching out, and the fact that there's a person facilitating a process that also shows significant benefits. But I don't know enough about reflexology. I'm not a reflexologist myself, but from what I understand, it works with energy systems. And if we can talk about stress, too much stress takes away energy from the body. And it gives you that sense of, I don't have the resources, whether it's emotionally, psychologically, mentally, or, whether it's financially or socially, I don't have those resources to manage whatever difficulties are coming my way. So from what I understand, reflexology, with the aid of a registered facilitator, provides balance, giving you back the balance, and then refilling you up with energy, as far as I understand.
What should I be doing if I'm under stress and I want to cope with it?
If you're under stress, is to first recognize that you are going through a difficult time. Listen to your body. Your body is always giving you feedback about how you're coping with your life. So if you've got a headache, the likelihood is you're either not thinking about something, or you're thinking about something too much, or you're under too much pressure. You need some stillness. You need some downtime. So the first step is to really listen to your body. The second step is to really sit down with yourself and map your life and say, right, in these 7 areas of my life, whether it is my body, my mind, my finances, my work, my relationship with my family and my friends. Look at all those areas and say, right, where am I feeling spent, and where am I feeling like my life is full? Where am I getting energy, and where's my energy being sapped? And using that as a roadmap to guide myself, and then to take action. That is someone that takes action, is proactive. Then you're able to feel like you're in control again. That again gives you that energy and the motivation to really tackle your difficulties. Whether it's going to the gym, whether it's drinking enough water, whether it's looking at the food you eat, accessing help, asking for support, finding a way to compromise and dealing with conflicts in a better way, and so forth.
Be proactive. Joanna Tlevolo, clinical psychologist and director of the Psych Matters Family Therapy in Bedfordview. The telephone number, if you'd like to get in touch with her, 011-450-3576, 011-450-3576. As always, thank you very much for having been our guest. Very much.